You guys know the drill at this point, don't you? I'm Dan. I'm just here to introduce Snack Size DFS with my good friend Brenton Eckersley at Terrain72 is where he's at on social media. This show, as all shows, are brought to you by our buddies at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all of March Madness. They've got the largest selection of odds and a $200,000 bracket contest that you got to get in on immediately. If you've got an inkling on a Cinderella story about to make a Cinderella story type run, get over to Bet Online now because they've got you covered with odds, stats, and more on every game, every play, and every win. So whether you're a seasoned fan or a first timer, Bet Online is that ultimate game day companion. Bet Online, the game starts here. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get all of our DFS shows the rest of the way and forevermore. Like on YouTube, rate after the fact on whatever pod channel you might be taking in this content. And now, without further ado, here's Snack Size DFS with Brenton Eckersley.
Hi guys, welcome into Snack Size DFS for March the 20th. It's a Thursday DraftKings game slate. Thank you, Dan, for the intro. As always, please give us a like and subscribe, especially on the YouTube channel, Old Man Squad Network. That would be fantastic. DraftKings have set up a fairly small 5-game card here for you on Thursday, March the 20th. Snack Size DFS, if you haven't been here before, welcome. We do a bite-sized condensed version of DraftKings NBA DFS slates. And this one, as I said, Thursday, March the 20th. First thing we do here is jump into some game notes for you. Game pace, attack and stack, which is teams that we can look at using heavily on this DraftKings game card, and also some pace bumps here. So for this game day, we have game pace notes here. So Sacramento taking on Chicago will be the fast one of the day. That already has a slated game total of 236, and the slow one of the day without a game total yet. In fact, none of the other games have game totals yet at the time of recording, but that'll be New York taking on Chicago, two of the slower teams. So less points, less fantasy points, etc. Onto attack and stack. Look, we can definitely look at New York here taking on Charlotte. Charlotte's still giving up fantasy points everywhere. And the bigger one will probably be Sacramento Kings taking on the Bulls. The Bulls are right at the top of the table for fantasy points, mostly due to pace, also due to poor defense. The pace bumps of the day. So teams that get a generous lift in the game speed because they are generally slower than the teams they're playing. Very obvious one here is Brooklyn taking on Indiana. Brooklyn right down to the bottom of the table for game pace, and Indiana closer to the top. So nice pace bump there for Brooklyn. And again, Sacramento taking on Chicago. So that Sacramento game is something we can definitely target here. Let's jump into the first game, 1 of 5. New York Knicks taking on Charlotte. This will be the slow one of the day, as I mentioned. Back-to-backs everywhere on this card. Just keep an eye on things. It makes things difficult to work with, but we'll do the best we can to get you primed, get you thinking about your DraftKings cards for Thursday. Back-to-back here for New York, Wednesday, Thursday. So they're playing today while I'm recording. 3 guys here I have interest in. It's not really the Cats here. I'm not really interested in Karl Anthony Towns here, just price dependent, and also facing probably Mark Williams on the other side of the ball. Cat could burn me, but I just like the prices here of Miles McBride, OG Anunoby, and also Mitch Robinson, which is an interesting one. You'll find as we go through this card, there are a lot of mid-price plays here. When we get to my favorite plays board, lots and lots of mid-price players, but of course we do have a couple of high-price ones for you as well. Back to New York, Miles McBride, 6,200. It's a nice spot versus Charlotte. It's been a place we can target for point guards all season. No Brunson, obviously, so McBride's getting all of those minutes. He has shown some low upside while he's starting, but I like this one versus Charlotte at point guard. OG Anunoby, 7,100. just seems to be getting the bulk of the usage with Brunson out. It hasn't been McBride really taking advantage on the usage side of things. OG Anunoby, out of the guys like Bridges, Hart, these guys, it's OG Anunoby who at 7K, a 71,000, is in a great spot here versus Charlotte. He had only 3 of 13 field goals last game versus Miami, which did keep his score lower. But look at the scores before that: 55, 41, and 45 DK points. So 7,100 for Anunoby versus the Hornets. Absolutely play that one. Mitch Robinson is the interesting one here. He is your pinata play. For those new to Snack Size DFS, a pinata play is just a wild swing, basically. It could go either way. 3,100, though, is a nice price for a guy who just had 24 minutes versus Miami. And 31 DK points. So the one thing we've got to watch here with Mitch Robinson, he is in on the Wednesday. He's coming back from injury. If he doesn't play on the Thursday, then obviously this just crosses this out. If he does happen to go, I don't mind the stab in the dark at 3,100. On to the Charlotte Hornets. This is a Thursday, Friday back-to-back. So for this card, it'll be entering the back-to-back. We have LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges already ruled as probable for this game. Moussa Diabate is showing as questionable, and Mark Williams is showing as in on the Thursday. So that's a good start. A lot of information for us to use on a back-to-back for Charlotte, who can generally be pretty tough to decipher in those situations. Look, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and Mark Williams, for me, they're all appropriately priced. New York is a tough defense. It's going to be a slight pace down game for Charlotte. So I am just leaving all of these guys off the board. I think that we just play the odds in DFS mostly, don't we? And when you're facing a really tough defensive team like New York, a slightly paced down game. Also, Charlotte, they could get blown out as well. I'm not paying high prices for those guys. The one guy I do have interest in on the Hornets team is Daquan Jeffries at 4,400. It is a pinata play. It is a swing at the fence. It is a $1,000 price jump in 3 games as well. We've got to keep our eye on that. You can't just keep locking guys in because they're starting and because of history. We have to watch those prices. 4,400. Look, it's a low upside kind of play. The guy could get you 35 DK points. He's probably going to sit closer to around 25 to 30 DK points, and especially with Ball and Bridges back in. But we also still have to find a guy who probably won't burn us. Sometimes we have to find these guys who probably won't burn us at that price, and they may just be a nice slot filler to allow us to play high price guys. That's my philosophy anyway. Daquan Jeffries at 4,400. He is fitting that bill for me if you happen to land there. Brooklyn taking on Indiana. It's a back-to-back here for Indiana. We'll get to that in a second. Let's just look at Brooklyn first. Big pace bump here for the Nets. Cam Johnson already ruled out, so that does open up some value for us here. I really like D'Angelo Russell here at 5,800, to be honest. It's not a guy I usually play. It is a pinata swingy kind of play, but he does have DK scores between 20 and 45, and that's the reason that it's listed as a pinata play here for me. What will happen though is a whole lot of usage is going to go around this team with Cam Johnson out, and I do like Russell. He has absolutely no problem chucking up shots. I watched about 10 minutes of the game yesterday or the day before, and I pretty much quickly switched it back off again because all I saw was D'Angelo Russell catch the ball and lob it out from 3, and I don't like that kind of play. But that doesn't mean a thing for DFS. If he's willing to do that and he can hit some shots at 5,800, then I like the play here for D'Angelo Russell for us in DFS. Keon Johnson, 5,900, another pinata play. He had, as you can see there, 36, 44, and then 23 DK points with no real drop in the minutes. Look, it's a good price for a guy who can score quite high in DK areas. I just worry about the yo-yo kind of scoring that we're seeing with Johnson. I have no problem dropping him in. We're here to take swings sometimes. 5,900 is starting to get up there in price, but yeah, it's a decent play here for Keon Johnson. Noah Clowney is just a bit of a shot in the dark here, another pinata play. 4,100. I only like this play because Cam Johnson is listed out. Clowney has come back from injury, but his minutes just haven't been there. He's been coming off the bench. I believe that the minutes should go higher here. Could he start? Yeah, he could possibly start. So yeah, I just like this a little bit better than Keon Johnson, probably at the discount, and I also like it better than Zaire Williams, who I have not listed here. Moving on to Indiana, Wednesday, Thursday, back-to-back. So obviously we have to keep an eye on the news for this second half of the back-to-back that we are looking at the time of recording. Pascal Siakam, Aaron Naismith, Miles Turner all in on the Wednesday half of the back-to-back. Halliburton was ruled out. So that's going to make things interesting for the Pacers team on the Thursday. A lot of it hinges on Tyrese for me. So if Halliburton can't go on the Thursday, I suspect he does go on the Thursday, but let's look at some options if he is out. Pascal Siakam, 8,300. We've seen him go absolutely bananas in past games not that long ago with no Halliburton. Versus Brooklyn does not worry me at all. So if there's no Halliburton, Siakam is definitely in play. If Halliburton plays, I love his price at 8,600. We know the dude is capable of 55 to 60 DK points. He's only had lowish kind of scores, 40 to 45 versus Brooklyn in the two games. He has played them, so just keep that in mind. But 8,600 remains a good price for Halliburton if he plays. Two other guys that we can look at if Halliburton doesn't go here: Andrew Nembhard at 5,600, Benedict Mathurin at, I think under my little notes there that you guys can't see, it's 5,200. There it is. So Nembhard is the floor guy for me. He doesn't show, it's much like Miles McBride, right? He's probably not going to burn you at 5,600 if he starts, and if Halliburton is out, it just seems like the upside for Nembhard this season has been fairly capped. Benedict Mathurin is your shot in the dark upside play for me. So he has a lower floor, higher ceiling type of option. He does have slightly cheaper pricing at 5,200 than Nembhard as well. So those are the two guys that you could look at if there's no Halliburton. If Halliburton's in, I'm probably not that interested in either of those two guys. And you can see down the bottom there, Obi Toppin, 4,900. I don't chase very often, and that is feeling like a chase game. For his last one where he shot a crazy 12 of 19, I believe, and they just kept him in the game because he was hot. I will pass on Toppin. Excuse me. Let's move into the third one. Toronto taking on the Golden State Warriors. This will be in San Francisco. At the moment, we have Poeltl questionable and Grady Dick and Jared Roden already ruled out. Poeltl himself, if he comes up and plays here, this price is just too cheap for Jakob Poeltl, 6K. You can also target Golden State Warriors at the center as they're usually playing Draymond there, who's fairly small. Jakob Poeltl here at 6K. Look, the other guys that are worth mentioning here, of course, the top end of town, it's Barnes, it's Barrett, it's Quickly. The minutes, now that Toronto are heading right towards the end of this season and they're obviously going nowhere. So they're not tanking like Utah tank where they just rest players for no apparent reason. What they're doing is just bringing the minutes right back for their best guys. So Barnes, Barrett, Quickly. Minutes have all been in the mid-20s for the last 2, 3, 4 games, and I'm not playing with those prices. But I do like Jakob Poeltl here at 6K. His minutes have also been down. If he plays here, the guy can still get you 35 to 40 DK points in mid-25 minutes. So I like Poeltl here versus Golden State. The other guy to look at here, especially if, probably only if Poeltl does not play, is Orlando Robinson at 4,900. People have been talking about Castleton at 4,300. I just like Orlando Robinson. He's more likely to get more minutes than Castleton. 35 minutes plus and high upside if Poeltl is out. Moving on to the Warriors. Curry is questionable. I believe he plays here. This isn't a back-to-back or anything for the Warriors, so he should come in and play unless the Warriors just want to give him another rest against a pretty awful Toronto team. The three guys here with that Curry questionable tag, I'm not looking at Curry at his price. This could easily become a blowout, especially if Toronto rest guys. Or keep those minutes low for the high price guys on Toronto. So I'm not looking at Curry here at the high price. I'm going to look at some mid-price guys here. Draymond Green at 6,300. I like this price pretty much only if Jakob Poeltl's not playing on the other side of the ball. So Jakob Poeltl is an excellent rim defender, very big body. I think Draymond will suffer if Jakob is in, but I love the price at 6,300 if Poeltl can't play. I hope that makes sense. Quentin Post at 3,800, another center for the Warriors here. Here's your pinata play on the Warriors team. And this is only based on the last game. So 23 minutes and 26 DK points. But if you go back one game before that, 8 minutes. So it's very hard to work out the rotations of the fringe guys for Steve Kerr. He likes to throw the pieces around. 3,800 is a pinata play, stab in the dark. Brandon Pajemski, though, 5,700, straight back into 29 minutes in his first game back after leaving a game in the first 2 minutes, I think. So great to see that, 5,700. I like this versus Toronto. As you probably cotton on by now, I'm more likely to play mid-price guys versus teams where there may be a blowout. So straight back into 29 minutes, 30 DK points in his last game back from injury. I like the price here for Pajemski. Here's the fast game of the day. It's the Bulls taking on the Kings in Sacramento. Wednesday, Thursday, back-to-backs for both teams. So lots of moving parts. We already know that Josh Giddey has been ruled back in on the Wednesday. I am very doubtful that Josh Giddey plays this back-to-back. He may, and that may change things. That's why he still remains on my board. But most of this stuff is going to be based around the fact that I believe Giddey won't play on the second half of a back-to-back. So Trey Jones at 6,300, $400 price jump from his last game, but he is the guy getting mid 30 minutes with guys out. I believe that's mostly due to Lonzo Ball being out. Giddey coming back will probably cap his upside, but he does show us that he can get to 40, even 45 DK points. I like this much better for Trey Jones. If Giddey's not there, I'm just worried about what Josh Giddey coming in as a guard may do to Trey Jones. But I think, as I said, Giddey doesn't play here. So 6,300 for Trey Jones is a nice spot. Giddey himself, as mentioned, back-to-back, watch that. Watch the news, 8,500. Look, he's just been killing this price, and I literally don't know what the dude has to do to get a price rise. He's been hovering around this 82 to 8,500 price point for so long and just killing the price. So if he does happen to go here, if we hear there's no minutes restriction versus the Kings in a fast-paced matchup, Josh Giddey will be an excellent play. I just can't put him into my favorite plays because I don't believe he plays here. So watch the news. If he's in, if there's no minutes restriction, you can absolutely lock in Josh Giddey. A couple of swings at fences. Kevin Huerter at 5,500. This is a pinata play only if Giddey's out for the Thursday. And Matas Buzelis, 4,800. Another pinata play. Look, it's based on the last game again. 30 minutes and 34 DK points. But Chicago have just been playing the swing around game with their ancillary pieces as well. So it would only be a stab in the dark for Matas Buzelis. He could easily go back to 18 minutes here. Can't blame you for playing him after that last performance, though. Let's move on to the Kings. This is a very big pace bump for the Sacramento team playing against Chicago. Chicago also giving up fantasy points everywhere this season. Interestingly, Zach LaVine came up as out on the Wednesday, and I would normally consider that just a rest on the first half of a back-to-back, but it's listed as personal reasons, and we hope he's okay. But what that means for us in fantasy terms is quite often when these guys come up as with personal reasons for being out, it can be 2 to 3 games before they actually come back. So let's keep an eye on that. A couple of moves down the bottom based on the fact that LaVine may be out here. Jake LaRavia questionable on the Wednesday. Sabonis, as we know, injured for some time now. So with LaVine on the cusp of potentially not playing here on the second part of the back-to-back as well, I love the price for Malik Monk at 7,900. Had some poor shooting nights lately, and that's what we need to keep an eye on, especially for guards. Last game, he bounced back with a 10 from 17 field goal night and instantly put up 50 DK points. So before that, he was hovering in between the 25% to 35% shooting, which is fairly un-Malik Monk-like, and his scores were hampered, obviously, because of it. As soon as he got his shooting right, and yes, it was a high field goal shooting night. He jumped way back up the 50 DK points. As long as his shooting is on target with no Levine, I like this play versus a pretty hapless Chicago outfit. I looked at some other guys here. I did look at DeMar. I think the price is appropriate, even if Levine doesn't play. The guy I'm leaning towards here is Keegan Murray at 6K. Much more usage if Levine can't go. You know, you've got 17 to 20 field goal attempts there that have to go elsewhere. Yeah, DeMar's going to get some of those, but his price is so much higher than Murray's that I really like the mid-price play here of Keegan Murray, 6K. Jonas Valanciunas, I left the price out. Apologies. I believe that is up over 7K now with a wild jump because of the Sabonis injury. I would like you to guys to go and check that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe it is over 7K now. Still, though, with no Sabonis versus Chicago and Chicago at the center position, this is a prime spot for Jonas Valanciunas, even if that price is well up over 7K. This is an easy drop-in play for me. The other guy to look at here is Keon Ellis, 4,800, wild pinata play, big swing at the fence. With no Levine, he could easily start and probably will start if Levine doesn't play. So 4,800, the guy is capable of hitting threes in bunches. It's a pinata play only. Okay, the last game of the day, Milwaukee taking on the Lakers. Here is your marquee matchup. Nothing on the injury report for Milwaukee yet. Doncic has been listed as questionable on the Wednesday, so it's the first half of a back-to-back for the Lakers. We need to be very careful with what happens here because Luka Doncic is going to be my favorite play of the day here if he plays. So Wednesday, Thursday, back-to-back. They have not ruled him out for Wednesday yet. If he plays Wednesday, could he sit out on the Thursday? Potentially. I don't think the Lakers can actually afford to sit Luka out, so he may have some minutes pulled back a little bit if he plays both games, but I still like Luka here. Hachimura and LeBron is obviously still out and ruled out even longer, I believe, this morning, another 4 games at least. So let's take a look at the Bucks team. Giannis at 11,700. We need to mention him every time the guy plays. Always in play. He only had 56 versus Lakers earlier in the season. Look, his field goal percentage has been surprisingly low lately, hampering his scores, keeping him around the 55 DK point mark, even lower a couple of times, I believe. If he has a big field goal night, sure, he can push past this quite easily. It is a marquee matchup. It's not my favorite play of the day. In fact, I don't believe he even makes my favorite plays board, but we need to talk about Giannis whenever he suits up. You can play him. I'm not here. Damian Lillard, 8,500. Look, I said this was a great price last time. It hasn't changed since the Warriors game. Dude let me down big time. Only 25 DK points. That was an absolute shocker. But this is DFS, right? You can't get them all right. But I believe that 8,500 still remains an excellent price for Damian Lillard. Field goal percentage has been off the last few games. I believe this is a bounce back spot versus the Lakers. The guy I really like here, another mid-price guy. Yep, it's another one, Brook Lopez at 5,500. I just believe that this is a great spot versus Jackson Hayes at the center position for the Lakers. This is more of a he hasn't been scoring that well, let's face it, but I have a strong feeling here that Lopez easily exceeds this 5,500 price versus the bigs at the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's look at the Lakers now. As I mentioned before, it's a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back, so very much keep an eye on the news for Luka Doncic. But Luka himself, 12,700, this is the highest price he's been all season long, and rightly so. No LeBron. Have a look at these scores, the last 7 games, 68, 67, 50, that was versus Boston, 62, 71, 64, and 61 in his last game, where he shot 1 for 7 from three-point land. So I love this play for Luka. It's a marquee matchup, Giannis and Dame versus the Lakers, 12,700. You can probably move off him if you're more of a GPP contrarian player, because this is going to be the big focus marquee game of the day. Austin Reeves, 9,100. beating this price nightly without LeBron in the team. Most of the time he's hitting around this price, this value, around the 40 to 45 DK points. But we do know that Austin Reeves has 55 to 60 DK point upside. So definitely makes my favorite plays board here, Austin Reeves at 9,100. A couple of guys you can take swings at. Jordan Goodman, 4,600, getting the minutes with no LeBron. He's a pinata play there. The minutes are there, but he is a yo-yo scorer, so just watch that if you need to land there. Jackson Hayes, probably more of a floor player here at 5K. Look, it's hard to fade a guy who's put up 30-plus DK points in his last two, but I looked at the rebound stats in those two games. It was something like 9 and 11 rebounds. Now, is Jackson Hayes capable of that on any given night? Sure he is. But who's he facing here? It's Milwaukee Bucks. It's Giannis dragging in rebounds. It's Brook Lopez dragging in rebounds. I will stay away from Jackson Hayes here. I cannot fault you if you like to play him. The track record in the last few games is there. That's the 5 games for the day. Let's check out the favorite plays for me. I do like the OG Anunoby play versus Charlotte, soaking up that usage with Brunson out. D'Angelo Russell as a drop-in play versus Indiana. Siakam versus Brooklyn, I probably like that much more and probably only do it if Halliburton doesn't play. Pajemski versus Toronto at a great price. I like the two guys, Malik Monk and Jonas Valanciunas versus Chicago in the pace-up game of the day. And back the other way, you can look at Trey Jones versus the Kings. The main game of the day, or the marquee matchup, it's Dame and Lopez for me versus the Lakers. And back the other way, it's Luka, and also Austin Reeves versus the Bucks. That's it for me today. Thank you for joining me. This has been Snack Size DFS. You can find me on the socials at Terrain72. Please, as I mentioned, give us a like and subscribe at the Old Man Squad Network. And that is it for us today. Let's get back to Dan in the studio.
And a thank you, as always, Brenton. Another outstanding snack size DFS episode on kind of a short little Thursday card. So an opportunity to make some cash when you don't have to pick through 9,000 players. Brenton getting you set up as well. And of course, you can take it over and use it on whatever website you want to play on. You could use it for DFS. You could use it for prop bets. You could use it for things like Underdog, Prize Picks, whatever. It's all good. And it's all just good info. Again, if you made it this far, you got to hit that subscribe button because you guys are super cool, awesome people, right? Like on YouTube, rate after the fact on iTunes and Spotify. Brenton is Terrain72 on social media. I'm Dan Vespers for Old Man Squad and all the things we do here at the Old Man Squad Sports Network. Thanking you, as always, for tuning in and spending some of your time with us here. Next DFS episode, when Brenton wants to do it for you guys. Next, other episodes here at Old Man Squad are all the frickin' time. Come enjoy them with us. Full season fantasy, DFS, basketball, full season baseball shows. We've got specialist shows. We've got incoming other stuff that I can't tell you guys about yet, but all so many good reasons to hang out with us here. And with that, adios for now. I've talked enough. Bye-bye. Go do something else.